The dark secret of Peppa Pig's house. It was a stormy night in Peppa Town. The sky had turned a deep shade of grey, with thunder crashing in the distance, shaking the ground beneath the small houses. Peppa Pig, her little brother George, and their parents, Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig, were inside their cozy house. The wind outside rattled the windows, but Peppa wasn't scared. She had always loved storms. Tonight's storm, though, would prove to be very different. They had no idea they were all being watched. "Peppa, you should go to bed now," Mummy Pig said, tucking Peppa under her blanket. But Peppa, wide-eyed, stared out the window, her gaze lost in the storm. "Mummy, I think I saw something in the woods," she whispered. Mummy Pig chuckled softly, brushing her daughter's hair. "There's nothing to be afraid of, darling. Go to sleep. Tomorrow we'll go on an adventure in the sunshine." Peppa couldn't shake the feeling that something was out there. Her heart raced as she lay under the covers, staring at the shadows that danced on her bedroom walls. Every creak of the house made her jump. Every gust of wind felt like a warning. The hours passed, and Peppa finally drifted off to sleep. In the darkness, a figure crept closer to the house. The house seemed to make strange noises, sounds Peppa hadn't heard before. Her dreams were turning into nightmares. In her dream, Peppa was in the woods. The trees were twisted, their branches reaching down like skeletal hands. Mist filled the air, and the ground beneath her feet felt soft and spongy. She looked around, but there was no sign of her family, only silence, and then a whisper. "Peppa, come closer," the voice said, eerie and distant. Peppa followed the voice through the mist, her heart pounding. She stopped when she saw a figure standing in the distance. It was tall, wearing a long, tattered cloak. Its face was hidden in the shadows, but Peppa could feel its eyes on her. The figure slowly began to move towards her. Peppa tried to run, but her legs wouldn't move. The figure was closer now, and its whisper turned into a low, growling voice. "You shouldn't have come, Peppa. You've awakened something you can't control." Peppa's scream echoed through the night as she woke up, drenched in sweat, gasping for air. The storm had died down, and the house was quiet again. But something felt different. Her room felt colder, the shadows deeper. The next morning, Peppa told her family about the dream, but they just laughed it off. "It was just a nightmare, Peppa. Nothing to worry about," Daddy Pig said, ruffling her hair. But Peppa couldn't forget the figure in the woods, the whispering voice. The feeling of knowing something strange had been lurking. As the days passed, Peppa noticed strange things happening around the house. The doors would creak open on their own, lights flickered at odd hours, and sometimes she would hear someone calling her name in the middle of the night. She started to feel like she was being followed, like something was always just behind her. One evening, Peppa and George were playing outside when they noticed something unusual near the edge of the woods. A strange symbol was carved into the tree, something that hadn't been there before. It looked ancient, like it had been there for centuries. Peppa's curiosity got the better of her, and she decided to investigate. As she stepped closer to the tree, she felt a chill run down her spine. The air seemed to grow heavier, the woods darker. She reached out to touch the symbol when a voice boomed from the shadows. "Peppa, you shouldn't have come here. The curse has been awakened." Peppa spun around to find a figure standing in the darkness, its face still hidden, but its eyes glowing red in the night. "Who are you?" Peppa cried, her voice trembling. "I am the guardian of the forest," the figure replied, in a voice that echoed through her mind. "And you have broken the ancient seal. Now, you must pay the price." Suddenly, the ground beneath Peppa's feet began to tremble. The trees shook violently, their roots twisting and stretching like monstrous hands reaching for her. The sky above darkened, and a deep rumble filled the air. Peppa ran back to the house, her heart racing, but the figure's voice followed her, getting louder and louder. "You cannot escape, Peppa. You've unleashed something that cannot be undone." That night, Peppa lay in bed terrified. She could hear strange noises outside her window, scraping sounds, as if something was trying to get in. And then there was a knock at the door. Peppa's heart skipped a beat. Slowly, she tiptoed down the stairs, clutching her teddy bear. When she opened the door, there was no one there. But on the doorstep, she found something that made her blood run cold. a piece of paper with the same ancient symbol from the tree, stained with what looked like blood. Panicking, Peppa ran back inside and locked the door, but the house felt different now. The air was thick, oppressive. It felt like the house itself was alive, breathing. Peppa's family tried to reassure her, but they too began to notice strange occurrences. Daddy Pig's radio would turn on by itself, Mummy Pig's sewing machine would start working on its own, and George's toys would move when no one was looking. The house had become a prison, and the figure from the woods wasn't done with them. The nightmare was just beginning.